Hey guys, Mr. Ryan will be here in a minute. I'm just starting this Zoom meeting for him. Okay. He was on his way home from an appointment, so he's almost home. If I started the right meeting. Yeah. Hey Chase,
Hello.
I'm running two Zoom meetings at once for just a few minutes until Mr. Ryan can get his started. Hey Logan, hi Mia. There's Caleb. Where are the sophomores for chemistry? There's Alex and Emma.
This is Ryan.
Uh-huh.
This book is hard.
It will be, but then it'll get easier.
Okay.
Most books start out hard.
Mm-hmm.
After we talk today, we do our thing, you'll feel more comfortable. Hey, sophomores in Mr. Ryan's chemistry class, he's on the way home. He was at an appointment, and so he'll be here in just a few minutes. I told him I would start this for him, and hopefully I might even have to start the little PowerPoint for you guys. My junior students, if you don't already, make sure that you have your copy of Gatsby and a pen that you're going to annotate with in your hand, ready to go, and be ready to go to Google Classroom. There are a couple of things on there you might want to just look and see what I've posted. See who we are missing. $11. Where are these people? There's Reagan. There's Shalane. Okay. First rule of make sure you are on time. Like at 10:59, you are logging in. If you're one of Mr. Ryan's sophomores, you might text somebody that you don't see that's on yet. I think Kate is in this class and I don't see her on yet. And I just heard Mr. Ryan walk in the door. Okay, juniors, the calendar's on there. I gave it to you before the break. And so you've got that. We will talk about chapters 1 and 2 today. Talk about who's going to do presentations when. We do presentations on Thursday and Friday. We'll talk about those again here in just a minute. Just general rules, be on time, keep your video on. Also make sure that you answer a question if I need you to answer a question or whatever. We have a silly person trying to join us. Who would that be? I'm going to admit them and then I may have to remove them. Who joined us?
That's just Joshua's name for his online stuff.
Joshua. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so Ryan, I am getting off.
You can.
I'll leave this. I can't end it though. But I'm gonna like click off. Yell up if you can't. Mr. Ryan, I can't end it because I started it, but I'm just gonna get off of it, okay? Okay. Sometimes it's a little crazy because two of us are running Zoom meetings at the same time in our house. All right, so be on time. Keep your video.
I can still hear you.
Well.
Okay, that's better.
Okay.
All
I can hear you. I don't want to hear you. Sorry. Okay. Feel free to chat me questions. Stay engaged with what's going on. Next thing. So we do presentations on Thursday and Friday. I need at least 3 or 4 people to volunteer to go Thursday, and everyone else will go Friday. Remember, these are 3 to 5 minute presentations. You have all the instructions, and there's a rubric posted on Google Classroom. You will actually be able to share your slides from your screen, but if something happens and you can't figure that out, I will run them for you from this end. And so Jelaine has already volunteered to go Thursday, but I need 2 or 3 other people. So do I have 2 or 3 other people who are willing to do that? Okay,
I'll go.
Caleb. And then Caleb, your seminar one will be on Friday, so that will work well for you. I need at least 1 more person because they're going to take 5 or 6 minutes each. Come on, who's not here today? Who wants to have a Friday where you have nothing to do? Okay. Logan, Chase, either one of you ready? Chase is panicked. Mia? Oh, come on, guys. Emma, how about you? Be brave. Get it over with.
I can do it.
Whose voice was that? Chase? Okay. What? A minute, I've got Mr. Ryan going at the same time. Dang it. What? Oh, sorry, Mr. Ryan had an early doctor's appointment and barely got back, and everything's good, but still. Okay, so I have my 3. Anybody else say yes? Because probably Chase would love to not. Reagan? Okay, somebody decides you want to get it over with, let me know. All right, this next thing, you are going to go to nearpod.com and to discuss chapters 1 and 2, we're going to do a Nearpod. Go to nearpod.com and put in this code, F2MN9. And just leave your video on. You can do this and Zoom at the same time on your iPad if that's what you're working on. You should see a screen that looks like this. And I am going to actually, through the chat, send out the code in case somebody loses it and you can get back on. If something happens and you end up getting knocked off of Zoom, then send me a remind chat. I'll have my phone right here in my lap and that will come up if somebody has some issues. Okay. Because the beginning of any book can be a little confusing and tough, I'm going to guide you through what you need to know about characters and events that have happened, and you are going to want to annotate them. There's always more annotations at the beginning of the book than there are later on. And so you're going to have a lot of annotations in chapters 1, 2, and 3, and then it'll be less after that. All right. So I just ask you to read chapters 1 and 2. So that's where we're going to focus. And the first thing I want you to do is someplace before chapter 1, it could be any place, the top of that page or whatever, I want you to draw this little graphic or picture. It is just a frame within a frame because this is what we call a framed narrative. That's a story within a story. So our narrator, Nick, is telling us a story of something that happened in his past. So we see him in like the present time, and he's going to go back and tell us something that happened in earlier years. Frankenstein is a narrative, framed narrative. To Kill a Mockingbird is a framed narrative. Usually when we have an adult telling us about a childhood story, it's a framed narrative, or we have somebody telling, a narrator telling us something about the past. Remember, this is fiction. That means our author, Fitzgerald, has made particular choices from everything from where the characters live, to their names, to the clothes they're wearing. He's made all those choices to create an impression for us. Okay, the first question is a silly one, but it's kind of important because I've had some numbskulls who've done some things before. What should you do if you do not know the answer to one of the questions? So all you have to do on yours is click the right answer there. And I should be seeing your face. Yay, all my good little students here. It's okay, we're learning. It's okay to skip and a question and then answer the next question, but you want to answer as many as you can because it's going to help you. And you're going to actually be learning from your peers today because many of the questions I'm asking that you put a page number, and that's going to help you as a reader turn to that page, find that quote, mark it so that you'll have that information later. Okay, and you can review it. Next question, first real question. Our title is The Great Gatsby. Write down a phrase or a word Nick uses to describe Gatsby in chapter 1. So you can go all the way back to page 2 and see some of the descriptions that Nick gives us for Gatsby. Write that down, just a short little thing in quotes and the page number, and post it. Okay, I have a couple of good ones there. Some of them are repeated, but that's okay. So you want to find those after you've written something down. That it? I would expect a few more. Ah, there's a good one. Thank you, Emma and Jelaine. Those were good ones. Okay, so yes, he was Nick's neighbor. This is interesting. He represented everything for which I have an unaffected scorn. So whatever Gatsby's about, Nick hates something that he represents. But he says there was something gorgeous about him, some heightened sensitivity to the promises of life. Those things sound very positive. His personality was like an intricate machine that could register earthquakes miles away. He's very sensitive. Got a few more here. Leisurely movements and secure. I love this, something gorgeous about him. So Nick, who is our narrator, tells us all these great things about Gatsby, how he seems to really admire him, yet he says there's something about him that or he's related to things that I don't like, that in fact I hate. So we know that. And notice in chapters 1 and 2, we don't meet Gatsby. We see him at the end of chapter 1. We will not actually meet Gatsby until the middle of chapter 3. But the book is titled The Great Gatsby. So there has to be a reason. He is our central character. The book would not be named after him if he wasn't the central character. Okay. And got one more up there. All right. Next question. Our narrator. Our narrator describes himself. He describes himself starting on page 1, and then several other things we find out about where he goes to school, things about his family. So about pages 1 through 3, look and see if you can give me a description of him with the page number so other people can find it as well. And the picture you are seeing is from the actor who played him in the second Gatsby movie, the newer version. Both are excellent. or played Nick in the second one version. Okay. Let a few more get up there before I start talking. Okay, let me start talking. So I'm going to go back to those from page 1. And you see in the third paragraph, he says, well, he first says his father told him, because he's from a privileged family, that just remember that the people in the world didn't have all the advantages that you had. In other words, he's wealthy, but his dad didn't want him to be entitled. His father said, hey, remember, not everybody got all that you have. So that's really nice. And he says that in that third paragraph, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments. And so he basically says about himself, and you want to write this out here, he is non-judgmental. And then later in the next page, he says he is tolerant. But, and I think Chase did this one. No, Ashby did. He says, I'm tolerant, but there's a limit to tolerance. In other words, I can hang with just about anything. I can accept just about anything to a point. And he saw that point of where his tolerance would not go. He is a young man on page 1. It says he was accused of being a politician. And that's probably because he got along with everybody. Because of that, people told him their secrets. He didn't always want them to tell them his secrets. In fact, sometimes he acted like he was asleep, or he tried to laugh it off. But he's a good listener. He is trustworthy. He's telling us these things about himself, but he wants us to trust him as a narrator. There are some narrators you cannot trust. Edgar Allan Poe has crazy narrators. They murder people. They're insane. And so you cannot always trust your narrator. Nick wants us to think we should be able to trust him, and I think we can. Some things to note about him. He is from a wealthy family. He is going to the New York area to go into bonds. So he's kind of like a stockbroker, is what he is. He's going to learn the bond market. He went to school in New Haven, the city New Haven, which means he went to Yale, a school that is very expensive, a school that is very academic. So that means our Nick is smart and wealthy and not non-judgmental. He paints himself like a pretty nice guy. So I hope you marked some of those things. And his last name is Carraway. Remember that our author chose that name for him, Nick Carraway. Okay, next question. We have in our geography in the setting 2 places that have been mentioned, East Egg and West Egg. And I did post a PowerPoint on Google Classroom that you can look at about East and West Egg. There's a map so you can actually see those on there. They're just 2 geographical things. They don't actually look like eggs to me, but they're like that. One of those has people with old money living there. That means they've inherited their wealth. And one of them is new money. Some people who have made their wealth in their lifetime. So give your best guess which egg represents old money. This is a question on the first quiz. I'm telling you now. So make your best guess. If you get it wrong now, it's no big deal because, it's not a quiz. Okay. How did we do? Bunch of us aren't answering. Answer the stinking question. It's not that hard. Make a guess. You're going to miss it. No big deal. Okay, a bunch more shared. Good. Well, let me tell you what the answer is. It is East Egg is old money. Here's how you're going to remember that. Tom and Daisy, D-E, Daisy, Daisy, East Egg, live on East Egg. Tom is very wealthy. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Nick, who is trying to make his own money, even though he's from a family of money, and Gatsby are on West Egg. And we're going to see that the not as sophisticated, the not as much money live on West Egg. And West Egg is actually, I think, closer to New York City, if I remember right. Okay. All right. Next question. Starting to talk about the characters, and we're going to start with some minor characters and move into some more major characters. Jordan Baker is a character that we first encounter at Tom and Daisy's house, and we see her first on pages 8 and 9. I want you to find some descriptions of her, put those page numbers down. She will be a character that we'll see throughout the book. Make sure you include the page number along with your short description. Don't forget to push post. Okay, good one, Caleb. She is attractive. You guys are going to have to move a little bit faster so we can make it through all of these. Nice one, Ella. A little bit about her physical description. Good, Chase. Talk about that in just a minute. Ashby gave one, shows how kind of nonchalant and cool she is. Good, Alex. So when we first encounter her, and that last one is from Reagan, Daisy's on one side of this long couch and Jordan is on the other side. They don't have air conditioning. They are just sitting there and the curtains are fluttering up, their dresses are kind of fluttering up, and then Tom closes the doors and it's like they come back down to earth and these two women are there. She's sitting completely motionless. They are languid, it's hot. And we see this woman that's attractive. She is athletic. I love that Fitzgerald does this. He has this beautifully athletic woman. Somebody share with me what kind of athlete she is. She is a professional athlete. What kind of athlete is she? So type it in and send it to me. She stands up and he says, like a young cadet. She stands straight with her shoulders back, and no one put this down here, thank you. But it says that she is a slender, small-breasted girl with an erect carriage. Okay, I love that she is. Whoops, that was something else. That she is so athletic and so attractive to him. A little entitled, a little snotty. And Chase put up there that when Nick sees her, he recognizes her. He's seen her from magazines. He's seen, and then he doesn't know why, but he thinks something negative is associated with her name. Okay. Some of you are putting descriptions of Daisy instead of Jordan. Nick feels like he's interrupting her to talk to her. He doesn't quite understand her, but he does feel some attraction to her. Okay. Our next thing I want us to answer a question about is Daisy. We're going to do 3 things about Daisy because Daisy is a really important character. So first of all, find some words that describe her voice. Is that the right one? Hang on. Yes. Find some words that describe Daisy's voice, not her physical description, but her voice, and include the page number. Some of you might be looking ahead and you might find some things about other physical descriptions, but right now I'm really looking for things just about her voice. And you'll see some of those starting on pages 8 and 9, and then toward the end of the chapter as well. Excellent, Andy. Good one, Reagan. It's not that she isn't physically attractive, but her voice is particularly attractive. Look at these words. Low, thrilling voice. It was like her murmurs. She didn't talk very loud. She's soft-spoken. Makes people want to lean in and hear what she has to say. The way he describes her, Daisy's murmur was only to make people lean toward her. Makes her sound maybe like flirty or manipulative. It's interesting that he says she has an absurd, charming little laugh. Absurd and charming right next to each other sound like oxymorons. How can something be absurd and charming? So there's something, a little odd about that. I just want you to take note of it. She and Caleb put this up here. This was good. At dinner, especially, she and Jordan just carry on a conversation. It doesn't even matter if the men are there. In bantering and consequence, that was never quite chatter. They're just chat, 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 talking like some women do. And then this last one is really good. Joshua, thank you for giving that to us. As if each speech is an arrangement of notes that will never be played again, like a melody that's played only once. She's unique in that way. So Nick's description, and remember that Daisy is his cousin, like third cousin, basically. Okay. Little bit more. I want to know some of your thoughts on Daisy from what you've assessed in chapter 1, what you've learned from her. What kind of woman do you think she is? If you have ugly thoughts, put them in an educated way, but you might not. I don't know. And I did not ask for a page number here. Just give me your opinion. Good, Reagan. Good, Chase. A little bit of vulnerability in there. Kind to those she loves. That second one, that she seems unhappy, I think that's a fair assessment of her. In fact, it says she's described as sad. Okay, Alex sees it the way I see it. Maybe Ashby says she seems a little ignorant or naive. Maybe she is, or maybe she's playing ignorant and naive. Mysterious, complicated. She says she's sophisticated. So sophisticated. Good idea. Maybe she draws others for comfort. Okay, so read all those notes that your classmates wrote. I'm about to move on. Okay, Ella says maybe some weak morals. She's married to someone who either doesn't love her or she doesn't know he loves her. Does she know about the affair or not? Seems that it would be impossible for her not to know. She at least tries to present this kind of flirty, ditzy girl. Okay, next question. Also a little more analysis of Daisy. She says when she finds out in the hospital that she has a daughter instead of a son, that she hopes she grows up to be a beautiful little fool. What does that tell us about Daisy if that's her ambition for her daughter? I think that's right. Ella thinks good looks will get her farther than education. Remember, she wants her daughter to grow up to be a fool. I would not say that about my own daughter. I want her to grow up to be wise. Well, she's grown now. Good point, Caleb. This is the 1920s. A woman married well, was a nurse or a teacher. She didn't have very many choices in life. She was going to be with her family until she was with her husband. And here we have a woman who probably sees that realistically and wants her daughter to marry well. And she knows that if she's fool, she will do that because she's got to be somebody's fool in order to do that. And maybe Daisy feels that way about herself. I don't know. It's really something quite sad to say that you want somebody to be a fool. Okay, good answers there. Put one more up there of Mia's. Right. Now let's move to Tom Buchanan. There's the person who plays him. Find some words that describe him and include the page number. He's described before Daisy because we see him on the front porch and we see him starting on page 6, I guess. Yeah, we see more of him on page 6. You can tell me anything about Tom that you see. Include the page number. Good, Chase. An interesting description. Reagan chose a good word. He doesn't like that word, hulking, when Daisy calls him hulking. Arrogant, definitely Ashby. Are you seeing the posts of people? What's happening? I may need to refresh. There we go. Even in riding clothes, Nick says, you would think he would look kind of feminine, but he doesn't. Okay, let's go look at these, and I'll keep adding as you keep putting them in there. Got some good ones in there. He is described as having a cruel body, and I think of that as big and athletic and hard kind of body. He is hulking. That's what Daisy says of him. He does not like that description. He says, I don't like to be called hulking. Shining, arrogant eyes. We know he has a woman that he's having an affair with. It seems as if the best parts of his life happened in college, and he's perpetually looking for another football game, because he played at Yale. He went to school with Nick, and Nick said, I always felt like he approved of me. And he was an excellent, what does it say he was? I was thinking tight end, but you can find it somewhere. He was really a good football player, and that maybe was the height of his life, which is a little bit sad to say that. He has a supercilious manner, and the way I remember what supercilious is, it's kind of super silly, because somebody is haughty and they are entitled, and that's what supercilious means. Enormously wealthy. Even in college, his freedom with money was a matter for reproach. Like, everybody acts like you're poor in college, and you are poor because your parents have put you on allowance, or you're working for your money or whatever. Except Tom spent money like crazy. And remember that when they moved east, they rented a huge mansion with a sunken garden and stables, and he brings a herd of polo ponies with him. Like, who travels with all your horses? Like, I see people traveling with one or two horses. He brings like a whole herd of horses with him. Shining, arrogant eyes, always leaning aggressively forward, all good things. That's our Tom. Okay. Tom talks about some literature that he reads. It is called The Rise of the Colored Empire. So I've given you some choices here. What does that tell us about him? This is mentioned in chapter 1. Does it tell us he's an intellectual, a romantic, a racist, or a psychopath? Okay, pick your answer. Hurry fast. 5, 4, 71% of you haven't chosen an answer. Pick something. Even if you're wrong, it's okay. There you go. Keep picking, keep picking. Still have a third of you who haven't picked. Come on, be brave. Okay. It shows us he's a racist. He talks about the Nordic, the Teutonic, that they talked about earlier. Nick, remember, had been in World War I. That's the time period he'd been a soldier. This is between World Wars I and II. Tom did not go to war. He's too wealthy, probably bought his way out. But he has some fear of losing power. And he says it's our job as this race to make sure we keep everything. We're the ones who've invented everything. So, something to think about, that Nick portrays Tom as a racist. Even in the 1920s, the portrayal of racism wasn't good. Okay. Just like I said earlier, Fitzgerald chose these names. Nick Carraway, Daisy Buchanan, Tom Buchanan, Jordan. We have Myrtle. Think about these names, and this, you don't have to put a page number. What is Fitzgerald trying to tell us about some of these characters by the names that he chose? And if you don't have any ideas, you don't have any ideas. Good, Ella. Jordan is a non-gender name. It could be a boy's or a girl's name. She's an athlete. Daisy, a flower. Maybe she'll bloom later. We're going to see. Another one about Daisy. Sweet, alluring, kind of open and pure. I like that. Where you're going with that, Chase, but that one. Here's one from Alex. The character seems romanticized. She's flirtatious. I do want you to think of Nick's last name, Caraway. Remember, he says he's non-judgmental, like the cares are away from him, or maybe he doesn't take them in somehow. Just remember, chosen names by our author. We haven't talked about Gatsby, the Great Gatsby. At the end of chapter 1, pages 20 and 21, we see him through Nick's eyes. Go to those pages, review it. It's too important the very first time we see anything about our main character. What do you make? I want an honest assessment. What do you make of that first encounter with Gatsby? Okay, we'll put the word mysterious up there. I like that. It's a good word choice for him. Good diction. A lonesome man from Reagan. Good. Peculiar but likable. Ella says seems contented to be alone. Ashby standing and seeming like he belonged. Okay, I want you just to think about this for a minute. If you're at the lake and you look and you see somebody doing this, would you think that's a little strange? Weird. That's what he sees. So he sees this man doing this, he glances away, he looks back, the man is gone. Okay, now, he doesn't like disappear, but he does disappear. And so it's a little strange that he is standing there like that. And that is the very first time that we get to see him. Okay. You're going to do a little activity here. Let's see if you know your flowers. It's not hard. So like click on the myrtle and click on the myrtle and click on Daisy and click on Daisy. Okay. And so let me go back to it just for a minute and back again. You can see it. The daisy is, of course, white with the yellow flowers, and a myrtle is actually a bush. It's called the crepe myrtle. You might have one in your yard. We do. They're very hardy plants. They do well around here. They survive. Okay. So we see where Nick lives next door to Gatsby. We see Daisy and Tom on the East Egg in their big mansion with stables. There is another place that's significant in beginning of chapter 2, before we head to the apartment in New York, and that is the Valley of Ashes. So just everybody put your color and post it that you think, the color that you associate with the Valley of Ashes. And then if a couple of you have anything that you think fits from the book, put that in there for me. Look at all these drab colors. Good, excellent. I think of it as a very industrial kind of place. If it's gray and ashy and bleh. Our description says it is bounded on one side by a small foul river. And when the drawbridge is up, the train has to stop and look out over it. It is a terrible looking place. He calls it a farm, but it's not actually a farm, where ashes grow like wheat into ridges and hills and grotesque gardens, where ashes take the forms of houses and chimneys and rising smoke. There is an abandoned building, a 24-hour diner, and a gas station there. That's it. Okay. And there is a billboard of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg's eyes that are up there that seem to be looking down on everything. But Dr. T.J. Eckelberg isn't even there anymore. Just the billboard is all that's left that's there. Okay, got a couple of other things here. A line of gray cars crawls along an invisible track. I mean, it is not a pleasant place. And you think, who lives there? George and Myrtle live there. George runs the gas station. Okay, so now George Wilson. I want you to give me one word that, and I don't care if I had a page number right now because I want to get through all of these. One word that describes George Wilson, who is Myrtle's husband. You can find it from the book or not. His description is on page 25, as is Myrtle's. And then there's some other things about him on page 26. Caleb put ignorant, exactly, because he doesn't know what's going on, and that's what ignorant means, not knowing. We see spiritless, and that is on page 25 in the middle of the page. Weak, quiet. He's a blonde, spiritless, anemic, and faintly handsome man. He's probably looks old, but he's actually just in his mid-30s like his wife is. Remember that on page 26, this is what Tom says about him. Let me see if either one of you put that. He put, he's so dumb he doesn't know he's alive. That's on the bottom of page 26. That's what he says about George. He has no idea. George does not know that Myrtle and Tom are having an affair. Myrtle walks right by him like he's a ghost, says, get some chairs out. But he is a dumb guy. I pity him. I'm like, oh, poor George. He doesn't know this rich, entitled man has come in and had an affair with his wife. Next question. Look on page 25 and 26. How does Fitzgerald describe Myrtle, the other woman? Again, just put the things down, no page numbers. I'll help you with page numbers. Faintly stout. That last paragraph on page 25 is a good description of Myrtle. She's not beautiful, but she is attractive. See, there's no gleam or beauty in her, but Tom is attracted to her for some reason. Nerves of her body continue to smolder. She's sexy. She carries herself well. We are told she is thick-ish. She's not skinny, but she is sensuous. There's something sexy about her. I think if they had music going behind her, it would be ba-ba, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. I mean, she is a woman. I love that Fitzgerald does this. He has an athletic girl that's very attractive, and he has a woman that's not skinny that's attractive. And so she is sensual and sexy, even though she's not necessarily beautiful. And she puts out a sexy vibe for sure. Okay. we see that Tom and Nick and Myrtle all go to town, and Tom has a little hideaway for his woman, an apartment. I want you to think about how Myrtle acts at that apartment. Consider how she decorated the apartment, how she treats the others at the party, how she acts at the party, and put what your impression is of her. I'll help you with page numbers. Put what your impression is. You can be looking at what she says and does. Some things, pages 28, where she buys the dog, 29, 30. How she talks to the people that she considers sort of servant-like. Good, Ella. She acts very bold, even though she doesn't have a cent. This is all Tom's money she's spending. I think she is kind of unlikable. She wants to look like she has money. She obviously doesn't have good morals. She's having an affair with a married man, and she's married. She's acting like she's above everybody. She has decorated that apartment with furniture that's too big. She's not thinking about, she doesn't know real style and how you should do it. She just wants expensive things. She wants somebody to come to the house and look at her feet. These people she talks about, like her servants, the boys she sends for sandwiches and stuff. She's one of those people. But when she's with Tom, she's going to buy this old thing. She's going to buy a new dress. This is nothing. And remember, they slip off for a little while. Nick leaves. He comes back. They aren't any place to be seen because they're off doing their thing. Okay. She doesn't like Daisy for sure. Okay. Now, in that apartment party, think about the major things that happen with Tom and tell us what it tells us about him. Okay, he's defensive about his wife. Must care more about Daisy than Myrtle. Okay, so he's there. So let's talk about a couple of things. One, Myrtle is acting very pretentious. She's pretending to be more than she is. Okay, like she has money. Tom is just there to get this woman. And he likes to party and probably lead a double life. We see that he lies about his marriage. He says that his wife is a Catholic. She is not. And that's how he says he can't possibly leave her because she's Catholic. He is not that interested in helping the photographer. He's not that interested in helping anybody. And then we see, because of course there's a lot of alcohol and it's a tight little apartment, this explosion where he says, you can't say my wife's name, Daisy. And Myrtle says, Daisy, Daisy, Daisy. And he hits her. And so we get to see something of this explosive sort of personality. Okay. Good ones. Now let me ask you this. Which character do you like the most at this point in the novel? Pick fast, pick fast. I'm going to give you like 15 seconds. Who do you like the most? Pick fast, pick fast. Hurry, those of you who haven't picked yet. Okay. So it seems like people like Nick and then Jordan and Daisy pretty well. Okay, the opposite then. I want to know which character you like the least. Pick fast. Okay. Most of you like Tom and Myrtle the least. Now let me just say what Fitzgerald has done to us. He has presented a racist liar who's had an affair on his wife and who hit a woman. How could we not dislike Tom, right? And then the woman who is having an affair on her husband and deceiving him, of course we dislike her. Okay, so good answers there. Fitzgerald has set us up. What we see is a Nick. We see a narrator who is honest and he says he's non-judgmental. He visits his cousin Daisy and her husband. We see there's an affair. He meets Jordan there. Then he goes with Tom to town and Tom wants to introduce him to his girl. They go to a little party there. Notice the difference in the drinks that are served. Whiskey, straight whiskey at the party in town. Fine wine, the party at Daisy and Tom's house. And then each party ends very differently. Different kinds of clothes are worn, different conversations, because we see two classes of people here. Not necessarily moral, either class, but two very different classes of people. And then we see this crazy ending. I want you, and you can unmute and ask me any question that is something like you just didn't get it. What was happening at this point? We're going to try to end here pretty close to being on time, but anybody have anything that you just like don't get that's happened? Okay, because I heard from the beginning somebody says this is a really hard book.
I actually have a question.
Okay, Reagan.
So Catherine was mentioned in chapter 2, but like, where does she fall into all of this? And like,
She's Myrtle's sister, and that's her Myrtle's excuse for going into town. And she is called to the party, and she's kind of a woman of the world compared to a lot of the women of that time, because she's traveled. Okay, anybody else? If you have questions, I want you to stay behind. If not, remember that these people, Jelaine, Caleb, and Chase, thank you so much. They've taken the hit for all of you. They are going to present Thursday. Everybody else start getting ready to present on Friday. Make sure you've read through chapter 3 by Thursday and that you've looked over the article that I posted about the young people of that society. And that's it. You are free to go and have your lunch. And if you have a question or I need to talk to you about something, just hang out for a few minutes. Okay, just you and me, Caleb. I am going to stop this share and I'm going to put something else up that you will need to see. Actually, let's see. I gotta stop this Nearpod. I've got up. Go to Google Classroom for seminar. We went over a few things on the rubric. And so if you'll look at the rubric, it's the first one up there. Just things to do. And of course, you'll do your presentation on Friday. Let's see if that's right. For seminar. Yeah. The presentation is 8 minutes at the longest, 6 minutes at the shortest. So it's 6 to 8 minutes. Of course, your slides are important, that you don't have too much on the slides. see. Go back down here a minute. You want to make sure that it's logical and sounds like an argument. So think, do I have my position clear? I want my research question. I have a clear position, and then I move to my reasons. Remember that you can be arguing that something is a problem. You are arguing that something is a solution, and you're giving reasons that it will be, shows that it's a good solution. So that should be really good. Because you're arguing for a solution, the rubric says that you have to represent the limitations of your solution. So you've got to explore those a little bit. So make sure it's logical, that you have more than one perspective in there. That's the hardest thing that we do. That here's the part here, and let me make it a little bigger. Detailed, plausible resolutions, conclusions, and or solutions, and considers the limitations and implications of any suggested solution. So you want to think through some of those things. Remember, not too much clutter on your slides. And because you'll be presenting online, you just have to look, you have to have a nice shirt or something on, so look good, waist up. And you don't want to go too fast. You will be sharing your slides. So are you going to share from your, okay. Caleb, what's the last thing you heard me say? Unmute.
I left after you told everyone to leave. I was trying to exit out of my Safari, and then I exited the Zoom.
Okay. So you'll do your seminar presentation on Friday. I have the rubric up here. Here are some things that we talked about. You have to have your research question. It has to be very clear why this is an issue or why it's needed. You don't have to do anything with stimulus material. That's something else that we'll do next semester. Should be very logical, like a good argument. Like, you are arguing for this particular solution. So why this is the best solution, all the evidence should be relevant and make sense and all of that. You do have to, because you are arguing for a solution, right here it says, if you're arguing for a solution, you have to consider the implications, the limitations and implications of any suggested solution. So you have to consider whatever you know, and you know that there are people that have concerns or whatever about your suggestions. You've got to explore those a little. And it's 6 to 8 minutes. So not shorter than 6 minutes, not longer than 8 minutes.
Right.
You do want to make sure that your slides, I think you're doing fine on this. They're good background. There's not too much clutter. It all makes sense. And also that things are parallel. So if you have, this is one reason we should do this, this second reason, they should both be like infinitive phrases or adjective nouns, or, but they should be aligned and parallel. And I can help you with that if you have some questions about it.
Okay.
And then you will be presenting on Zoom. So look professional from your waist up. I don't care if you have shorts on or whatever from the waist down. You will just be talking to us. Just make sure you don't look like you're reading. Even though you might be reading some things on there, try not to look at like that. Are you going to present from your iPad or your computer? Do you have a computer at home that's a school computer?
I don't. I have a home computer though, so I could present through that.
It's up to you. But I want you to, are you on your iPad right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to stop this share. I want you to see at the, somewhere on your screen, there's a green button that says share screen. I want you to click on that. Then click on screen and find Google Drive, I think.
Oh, right here.
Is that what you see?
Yes, I just have to sign in.
Okay, do it real fast. I want you to see your slides up here. Let's make sure that they're working.
I think I have to share my slides to my drive.
Yeah, you may have to do that. I'm not, I mean, I know you want to break and have lunch and everything, but let's see if we can get it.
See. It's saying I don't have like sufficient permissions to for this file.
Right, but you do. You may just have to share it with yourself or something.
Right.
Let me get it up so you can at least see what it looks like. And on that, sometimes what you have to do is OMP 2020. You have to like share the screen and then open your Google Slides for it. Yes, I had a student that missed class. I'm doing class. That's right, asked me. Still a class? Okay. Here's how it looks. Can you see this? If I'm doing it, just so if you see if everything looks okay. Just different. The blue shows up really nicely, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. So you, if it's possible for you to get on 2 devices, it's honestly, the truth is it's easier to present from a computer than an iPad, but we can present from iPads. I've done it before.
Okay.
But if you will, you can create your own Zoom account and play with it. And you can log on to the Zoom and then log on to that meeting and try to share your things and see if they come up. And if you can't get it figured out, I need you to send me a remind and I'll get on a Zoom meeting with you and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right. Well, we missed you in class. The other thing is nothing. I just tried to make sure everybody didn't have 2 presentations in one day, and you don't, so that's good. Okay.
Cool.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
I will see you Thursday.
Yes, ma'am.